Greetings and welcome to CRT Gaming Podcast as we kick off Season 2 with Episode 19, Lords of Thunder. This is Jones, and with me are my good friends Dazpick and Gohan. Mr. Dazpick, did you find what was sealed beneath the 6 continents of Mistral?
I think I did. I know I beat the game.
Oh, you found it then.
Yeah, some cutscenes happened, and yeah, things went down, and I blew up a lot of shit.
And how about Gohan? Were you able to wear your magical armor inherited to you? I do.
Oh, man, it's awesome for the three of us to come together as the Lords of Thunder. We've all beaten the game, so yeah, I'm ready to talk about it.
Awesome. Well, a little bit of a disclosure before we start is this is a game that I loved like as a late teenager is kind of when it came out, and I originally played it on the Turbo Duo back when it came out. And
so what year was that?
That was 93.
Oh,
90.
All right, okay.
And this is one of the games, like the TurboGrafx to me, like I said, we've talked about it in the past, but it doesn't have like a ton of great games on it, but it does have a lot of good games, and then it does have a couple gems on it. And this is one of those games, like to me, like this was a reason to own the Turbo Duo. This was it. And then a couple years later, it got released for the Sega CD, and I was a little salty over that because I felt like it stole its thunder a little bit.
Stole the Lords of Thunder.
Yeah, it stole the thunder. And so I chose the Sega CD version because I've never played it. So I wanted to be able to compare the two and see how it actually turned out in comparison, which one would hold up better. And I've watched a lot of other reviews on that subject, and there's no middle ground. Like some people say Turbo's better, you're crazy for Sega, and then there's other people say Sega's better and you're crazy for Turbo. But it's pretty close. I mean, there's some differences, but it's faithful enough. And I wanted to let you guys experience this game. Go off the start. How you feel about the soundtrack?
Oh, soundtrack's
Unreal.
period. Full stop.
Yeah, I mean, the soundtrack is incredible. You are definitely more of a Turbo CD expert than I am, and honestly, after playing this game this last week, this is probably up in my top 10 shooter soundtracks of all time. I mean, like, it's up there with Darius and, just all of those great shooter games. It really was a cool thing to kind of stumble upon. I know about Lords of Thunder and Gates of Thunder, but I never really got to play them at all. It was just something that I didn't have access to back then, so it was awesome to pick it up and see what all the noise was about, because definitely people were singing a lot of high praise about it in the magazines back then.
Yeah, it's actually like you mentioned it, Gate of Thunder. It's a sequel to it in name alone. Like Gate of Thunder's more of a space shooter, but it had a jamming soundtrack. And then like this came along, and it just most shooters at the time were like you're a spaceship basically, or you're shooting stuff. And this was totally fantasy based, kind of. Just completely different from anything I played at the time. They're games that this has borrowed some stuff from. Like, I don't know if you guys remember or not, but in Forgotten Worlds, the Capcom shooter.
Yes, very familiar with it.
It had a store in it that you could purchase things just like this game.
And spend your zenny.
Also, and you picked up the currency.
sweet zenny.
Just like this game.
Just like Strider had. I'm kidding. The store is Strider.
The store is
No, I mean, like, the store was so, like, in this game,
Necessary.
while I'm a fan of, Forgotten Worlds, definitely cool, but in this game, it definitely is a cooler part of the experience where you're trying to, max your ship out to its, to its potential and to your play style.
Wait, you had a ship?
Well, he's a ship, he's a flying
Lord.
space knight.
He's a lord swinging a
He's
sword, son. He's not a ship.
And it had the melee in it.
It's a man.
Which I thought just chops you. Runs on the ground. It's just
He has legs.
Dude, that was a super nice touch, actually. Like, when you have, your character on the ground, he does kind of, march, forward.
Yeah, it was awesome. I love that part. I love that he would run along the ground and having a melee attack for close-up enemies. I thought was
Why haven't more games stolen that,
that was
back
so
then?
good, so good.
It really did make you have to kind of go in and, I don't know, it was like a risk-reward thing, right? It's man, you need to get close, but not too close, and you need to look at the pattern so you can, disengage when you need to.
you can sneak in there and do that damage and get out.
Yeah, but sometimes
Oh yeah,
because
because the sword is like that is the most powerful weapon in the universe.
like 5 or 6 swipes on a boss and it's lights out. Yeah, a few times. I was like, man, that's a hell of a lot of damage.
Yeah, definitely. And I said, I'm glad I picked the Sega CD version, just because I wanted you guys to be able to finish it. Like I said, the Turbo one, it's hard. Like it is so much harder than this game. So I'm grateful you're able to finish it rather than throw it across the room.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I liked this game so much that I went and checked out, the other games kind of associated with it, and like the Turbo version is
Dominating.
hard. Like, it is really hard compared to, like, the Sega CD version. If I would have bought that game back then, it would have been one of the games that I would have totally, over time, ratcheted up the difficulty. But the Turbo CD version is very difficult just from the word go.
Yeah, it's totally legit. Like, some of the major differences between the two, like I said, is the difficulty. I did notice, like, I didn't know this, but apparently in the US version of Lords of Thunder on the Duo, in the intro, there's a vocal description as to what's going on, the lore of Lords of Thunder. And then there's vocals in the shop. On the Sega CD version, you have those. On the Turbo, it did not. But apparently on the Japanese version called Winds of Thunder, it had those vocals. So I didn't know they added that back in for the Sega CD. So that was kind of strange, just hearing them, vocals for the first time in the game. It's like, I don't remember this.
Yeah.
And then the only other major difference is, like, the enemies on the Sega CD, when they get hit, they don't flash. Like, you don't really get a register of you're hitting somebody. On the Turbo one, they would flash.
That sucks.
Yeah, that does kind of suck, because if you go like look at them side by side, it's like night and day difference. Like, every enemy that gets hit flashes. And then, like, the other thing is the Turbo one's a lot more colorful than this version. And I learned that's because apparently, like, the TurboGrafx, like, is capable of 512 colors.
It's turbo, bro.
Well, it can do 428 different colors at once, and the Genesis can do 64.
It's
So that
turbo.
explains. It was TurboGrafx, man.
Yeah, man.
Straight from Japan.
Just telling you right in the name, man.
Yeah,
Shit's
aptly
turbo,
named.
son.
The PC Engine is just whirling with the turbo, but that game's essence remains true, which is it's an amazing game
The rock and heavy metal soundtrack.
with a rock in it. That's exactly right. And I did like how the little touches in the game, like, you can choose between the 4 elemental type armors, like earth, wind, fire and water. But
The Captain Planet.
And the music
formula.
changes too when you pick Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm kidding, it doesn't.
it gets bad. But what I liked about that is like most games, it would just be like a color swap on your character. But,
Yeah.
you had a whole different little sprite for your dude, which I thought was cool. I felt like I was actually wearing the armor. And then, depending on what armor you picked, determined, how your weapon powered up, which, it gave the game a whole strategy element, like how you're going to tackle a level, like what armor you thought worked best for it. Which I think the fire works best for everything, but
Yeah, that big wave shot is hard to not like.
yeah, I like the water one too. The water does, you just radiate bullets, and I kind of like that from every direction.
Like you become the bullet hell enemy.
Oh yeah, you're
Basically.
a level 10 boss. Like they don't want nothing to do with you, dude. You're just wrecking everything that comes at you.
Come get some. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it though. It was really good, man. But like I said, man, having that melee mechanic. I mean, I know I already said it, but it was just such a nice touch. Just getting in there and whacking them with a big flaming sword, and just watching just bosses just go down. Like Jesus, that shit was over in 3 swipes. Awesome. So, yeah, that was cool. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it definitely was a great mechanic that helped you navigate through swarms sometimes. Like you may not be able to shoot everything, but if they get close enough to you, you just straight up swipes them and kills them.
Yeah, the only thing that and it's not a dislike, it was just I had to get used to it, because I haven't played shooters in a while, but when your character is shooting so many things on screen, and then you've got a row of shit little enemies, and when you blow them up, they drop a bullet behind them that's coming at you, and it's hidden behind all of your bullets. So then you don't move fast enough, you get smacked in the face. It was really frustrating.
There's a lot going on visually in this.
there was a lot happening. So that was one where I'd be like, oh shit, and I'd catch myself getting a little frustrated because I'd take a lot of stupid hits where I wasn't paying attention that there was 6 enemies that I just killed, and 3 of them left little presents for me to catch in the face.
Oh yeah, well it adds to the tension a little bit. It's like you are highly incentivized to pick up every single gem you can.
Yeah, and some of them look like bullets too.
Well, sometimes there's a bullet mixed in that big pile of gems, and you just gotta take one for the team.
Yeah,
and I really enjoyed, just like I said, the fantasy-based type shooter, but I mean just the variety of things that are enemies you're facing in this game.
Yeah, I mean seriously, the amount of enemies, and as you're saying, Joe, it's being able to choose the different armor types. It's they put a lot of different kind of, and of course the store, where you're kind of spending your money in between the missions. They put a lot of stuff into this game for the genre, definitely.
All right, well, let me ask you this. All right, that bullshit level where it's one of the ones near the end or the last one, I don't remember, when you're going backwards and
I knew that was going to come up.
Those stupid pendulums and with little things along the ground, and then there's enemies mixed in with it, and you have absolutely nowhere that you can dodge. Yeah, that was a bullshit.
It was a Ninja Spirits level difficulty, navigation puzzle.
Yeah, it was like the
Rejected.
jumping off the mountain in Ninja Spirits. It was pretty much that. It's like, hey, you got nowhere you can go. You're gonna get hit. Have a nice day. Peace. Yeah, I got through it, but that was a real pisser.
These 6 generals have amassed to, raise this crazy evil bastard from the dead or whatever it is, and you gotta stop him because it's the Gowled Kingdom, so we can't have that. I did a lot of research on this game and kind of found out it's really hard to research this game. And something I had to do, which is just kind of crazy, when you beat the Sega CD version, it just kind of goes to a title screen, so it's Lords of Thunder. After the ending cinema, which the cinemas in this game are amazing. It's one of the reasons I've always loved.
Can we take a minute and talk
TurboGrafx.
about just talk about how amazing those cinemas are? I mean, there is, when we, started talking about doing a podcast together, it's like, oh yeah, we're always gonna, we're gonna talk about the games that we like, and then we're also gonna talk about kind of hidden gems that the other two haven't played. And this is such a between the music and the shooter itself and the cinematics, it doesn't get any more quintessentially retro gaming than this game, really. And the cinematics are a huge part of that.
Yeah, I would say it is like an alpha retro game, because like everything about this game at the time period screamed what was amazing about the TurboGrafx CD system, because you had the Sega CD had just kind of came out, but they were all doing either a standard normal game with a a Redbook CD audio soundtrack, or it was some kind of full movie animation FMV garbage game. And in the Turbo games, they always did they had great music to accompany the game, but they always did these cinemas in it. And whether the game was good or not, these cinemas were always awesome because they're like little cartoons. And they're epic in this one. I think it is probably one of my favorite younger gamer memories is playing this game.
Yeah, I didn't know a whole lot about the company that made this title. I was aware of Lords of Thunder and the Gates of Thunder game kind of associated with it, but I didn't realize that they, Red Entertainment, the company that made this, during the Sega Saturn kind of years, they did a lot of the Sakura Wars games. If y'all are familiar with those titles,
and familiar with the title,
definitely there's a big animation bent to Sakura Wars. So yeah, I mean it's kind of cool to see that they went from this onto that series, because that was a huge staple series for Sega, through Saturn and Dreamcast era.
Yeah, like I said, if you go to start looking into this, it's hard to find out kind of who did what, other than just some really vague stuff. When the Sega CD one's beaten, you get the title screen. But if you go through and you fight your way through the Turbo one, you're greeted to true credits. So I could actually see names of these people. Now, you can't find online, but they are in the credits of the game. Now, some of them are very vague, under graphic design or 3 people. One's named Metal, one's named Shell, and one's named Idol. So okay,
dude, awesome aliases.
Yeah. But you can get the person that made the music. It's from a company called Tease Music. His name is Satoshi Miyashita, and most of his game development are Japanese games that we have never heard of, really. But one of them was Shenmue 2, which is a complete, other direction than music for this game. He did take place in the game world for a while, and a couple of the other interesting ones is one of the guy. I gotta look hard at these names because this is not my forte. I believe you pronounce it Kazunori Nakazawa.
Kazunori?
Kazunori. We'll just call him Kazunori. He's a good old boy. But he was the...
Lives in the Blind Forest.
He was the character designer for the game. But he went on to work on things like Final Fantasy Online, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy IV, 14.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You can kind of look at his character designs if you start looking at the artwork for this game.
Awesome. I mean, the cover art alone is just, once again, just quintessentially retro. It's this, anime, is, Starscream mecha winged,
okay.
Space Knight.
That cover art, are you aware of whose drawing that is?
No.
Would you know the name of the man that brought you Appleseed and Ghost in the Shell?
Oh, Masamune Shiro did the cover?
It is that man.
Oh, wow. That's some awesome cover art there.
And like I said, that it's got some like huge talent is behind this, but you got to really dig to find it. And
and how did it come together, right? I mean, like, it's kind of one of those things that seems like it's kind of a bit of a mystery, at least with what's readily available out there.
Should we start a GoFundMe to create a documentary on the making of Lords of Thunder?
Send the CRT Gaming team to Japan, and we will come back with answers, people.
Yeah, definitely so. I'd love to. And then like the director for the game, which is kind of crazy. In the credits, when the scrolls, you get like their first character of the name. You know, it's abbreviated, then their last name. So then I gotta like do like Super Batman stuff to figure out his name. At the Batcave is just burning through energy, crunching numbers, trying to figure it out. But his name's Tamanori Matsunaga, I think. But anyway, this guy, like, I'm just gonna throw some game names out here. Basically, Bomberman's, Fatal Fury Special, World Heroes, all the Ease games, Art of Fighting, like Bonk and Zonk, Record of the Lotus War. The guy's done a lot of stuff that are good. A lot of them are of the TurboGrafx era, but they're
just awesome Hudson soft games and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of gems.
I mean, that's a pretty awesome resume.
Yes, I mean, it's not like I was pleasantly surprised after, fortunately, finding they had credits that I could go through and kind of learn all this stuff. Like I said, back then it was just they were just games. I mean, like, I don't know if I truly, understood the power of Miyamoto at this moment in time, because you just had like Super Mario Brothers and maybe 2 and 3. So it's interesting to go back and see where these people came from and where they went.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those games that was fun to learn about. And like you're saying, the composer, right? He worked on this, but also the Shenmue games. And I mean, like, just playing this game, I don't know if you guys are a big fan of the new Metal Gear Revengeance game, but playing through Lords of Thunder with the soundtrack, I was like, if there is a way that Konami could stop making pachinko games for 5 minutes and make a Metal Gear Revengeance, 2, I was like, please get this guy to do the most epic of heavy metal soundtracks for that, please.
Yeah, you can forget about that dream, buddy.
Yeah, I know. Just keep pulling the lever on the pachinko.
Yeah, just keep pulling that lever.
Yeah, the game has a lot of it's changed hands a lot, like as far as it came from Japan to a US release to a Sega CD US and Japan release, and then it's changed to, I think Konami owns the rights to it now, because they released it for the Wii and Wii U, like Virtual Console. But like, so getting like names straight, like if you're reading like stories or descriptions of the game, it's like all over the place. Like your main character is some places call him Landy. He has other names and other ones. The Konami call him Randy. So it's like, I don't know, Randy? No,
Randy, Landy. What's your name?
Yeah, he's not Randy. It's too epic for Randy.
This is way too metal for a Randy.
Yeah, I totally agree. But like I said, I enjoyed the being able to choose like where you wanted to go, kind of like a start of a Mega Man game, where you're not following a set path. You can bounce around. If you get stuck, you can go somewhere else. But you only got 3 continues. You can't go somewhere real long.
Yeah, I think that's just one of the things, right? That when it comes to the armor and the weapon shop, like, choosing the level that you wanted to go to was just another one of those things that just, for a game of its type, definitely made it feel like there's just so many cool options and, ways to play, because back then most shooters were very, very, very linear.
Yeah, and it was, there was a lot of variety to the levels, rather than, like some shooters, like kind of, the levels changed, but they kind of all kind of look the same. It kind of blends together. But like each one of these had a definite, theme to it, like a a water world or a volcano world. You know, it was everything was new for each level. Nothing really seemed rehashed to me.
No, I mean, there was a ton of variety, right? I mean, and plus, like, there are so many just like little tiny touch animations, like, you know, whether it's like the little wizards who are like casting the spells, or
I hate them.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
They would just
there's
sneak in
just so
behind
many
you,
like
little pricks.
there's just so many little tiny animation touches that make even the fodder characters just have personality in this game.
It was a good trip down memory lane. I'm glad you guys were able to dive into it and enjoy it. That's even a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, when you picked shooter, you really left it wide open for us. So Daz and I have a lot of homework we need to do for our games, our picks in the shooter series.
I did my homework already.
Oh, really? Now?
Yeah, my homework is done.
Okay, well, you know, come out with it. Actually, before we jump into that,
Give it a score? Yeah, let's give it a score.
granted, you know, you guys are way more familiar with it than I am, but you know, how do y'all feel about it?
Okay. I'll go first. I chose this game. I give this a 9. I give the Sega CD a 9, and I would actually give the turbo version a 10. Like, as far as how much I may purchase this game. I may have to go get on eBay. I really, really forgot how much I like this game. So, Daz, how would you rank this game?
Oh, easily a 9. I mean, it's there was a lot of shooters, especially, you know, on Sega Genesis. I mean, Sega Genesis had it had a shitload of shooters, and there was a lot that weren't that great. When a really good one came out and stood out, it was awesome. And this is definitely one that didn't get the fanfare that some of those stinkers did, and it should have, because it was a really good game. I mean, the soundtrack alone should have gotten more attention than it received. I mean, I didn't hear about this until you mentioned it to me on the Turbo, and then it was coming out on Sega CD, because I was on the lookout, because you're like, dude, the soundtrack from this thing is going to blow your freaking mind. And I was like, oh man, that's awesome. I always, you know, love good music in a shooter. But then, you know,
Did you have this for the Sega CD, Daz?
Yeah, I didn't have a Turbo, and I played it, so I had it at some point.
Yeah, I remember.
That's awesome. The Sega CD cover is so like epically like 80s Western metal versus the Turbo CD version.
Yeah, I mean, I remember there being a difference there too. But
The
yeah,
artwork
I mean,
that shall not be named.
yeah.
That is the retro stink for this episode.
This was in the list of things that you mentioned when we first met. You know, when we were having that initial conversation about, you know, cool shit that we both liked when we met, Jones. This was one of the games that came up because I'd never played it because I didn't have a Turbo. And yeah, so, you know, and then when it came out on Sega CD, I grabbed it and I was like, damn, this is really freaking good. Yeah, it was nice to go through it again. But yeah, like I said, you know, or if I did say, easily a 9. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, it was awesome.
Oh, awesome. Well, that leaves you, Mr. Gohan. How would you rank this tromp through the mystical land of Mistral?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely, you know, out of the group, I'm the one that's kind of coming late to the party with this game, but I would review it as a game, kind of looking through the retro rose-colored glasses a little bit, like at an 8.5, and the soundtrack would have definitely tilted it into the 9 territory. I had so much fun playing this game this week that I went and checked out, like I said, the Gates of Thunder and Lords of Thunder on the Turbo CD, and I'm probably going to play the Turbo CD version after this one. So it definitely was pretty favorable.
Yeah, good deal. Well, this is how we kind of started off the season. Going to do some shooters, and I believe next week is Dazpick's choice. So have you, you had all week. Have you came up with a game for us to play?
I have come up with a game, and you know, like I was just saying, I mean, there was a lot of shooters on the Sega, and I played a lot of them. And I remember when I got the Sega, there was all the game boxes when they came out, they had, pictures of all the games that were coming, or that all the advertisements for them and everything. And I remember there was one on there. It was Thunder Force 2. Now, this is not what I'm picking, but I just want to talk about it because it was really cool. And the thing about it was a side view shooter, and the side view sections were absolutely stunning. And then it was also an overhead, open world, overhead shooter section that was a little bit daunting because you could go anywhere, and it was huge. And you had to knock out all these different areas, but you could move all over the map, which was really weird because you could move left, right, up, down, and it was like, oh, that's a lot of information to take in when you're trying to do that, because normally you're either going vertical.
I mean, in a shooter back then, you're either moving directly ahead or directly horizontally, right?
This had you going everywhere.
Yeah, it felt like Time Pilot.
It was nutty. So I never beat that one because those areas were very hard to deal with. But Thunder Force 3 was amazing, and that was one of the ones that had parallax background scrolling, and it was really awesome looking. And I remember, I played that one a lot. I loved the music. Both of them were done by Technosoft, and Technosoft always had really good music.
Yeah, they were making a lot of really good games back then.
Yeah, they were. And I love those games, but as much as I loved them, I'm not picking them because there was one game that stood out more than my love of those two. And while this game had those cool anime cutscenes, there was one game on Sega Genesis that came out, a little cartridge game, not a CD or anything, but it was Musha on the Genesis. And it was an overhead shooter, and it had very cool, like, anime opening, some graphics and everything, and robots flying around and close-ups on the anime characters, and it was really awesome. And it was one of the Genesis games that had a freaking rockin' ass soundtrack for just using, the built-in chip tune, whatever the hell audio was built into it. But it was really, really good.
The series that you're talking about, Daz, is the Aleste series. So are you picking Robo Aleste or Musha Aleste?
No, Musha. Metallic Uniframe Super Hybrid Armor.
Say that again.
Yeah, you remember that one, baby. Metallic Uniframe Super Hybrid Armor.
You could use that in Scrabble, people.
Yeah, obviously Musha. But no, man, I freaking love that game.
Should we just review it now?
No. I'm just I'm giving you a heads up about it.
Some love. This man loves this game.
Let's just say that there's some excitement for this game.
I'm excited about the game, okay? Awesome. I love it. It's one of my favorite overhead shooters.
Awesome. I haven't played it, so...
Really?
No, I haven't played this one.
Oh, so, man. Okay.
Something to look forward to.
It's definitely in the Hidden Gems camp.
Yeah, it's my faves, man.
Oh, awesome. So, next week, stay tuned, and we'll see how Musha turns out with the... what kind of armor was that again, Daz?
This Metallic Uniframe Super Hybrid Armor, sir.
That's it. Stay tuned next week.
Until next time.
Till next time.